First at 11, Deere & Company is responding to former President Donald Trump's threat to put a 200% tariff on products the company tries to sell into the U.S. Trump made the comment during a campaign stop in Pennsylvania on Monday.
I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
John Deere is moving some production from Iowa to Mexico.
John Deere making a big change to where they manufacture their farming equipment, leading to hundreds of U.S. layoffs.
The green and yellow machines that once symbolized the heart of American farming now stand at the center of a storm. John Deere, a brand woven into nearly 2 centuries of rural tradition, is scaling back its U.S. roots and shifting jobs south to Mexico. Falling sales, rising costs, and global trade pressures have forced the company into painful decisions that cut deep across America's farm country. At the same time, the move has ignited fierce political battles, with the White House vowing tariffs to keep Deere's factories on American soil. For workers, farmers, and the future of American industry, the stakes could not be higher. For nearly 200 years, John Deere has stood as a pillar of American agriculture. Its green and yellow machines have powered harvests across endless fields and symbolized the strength of rural America. Yet today, that symbol faces unprecedented pressure. In the summer of 2024, the company announced closures at several U.S. plants, eliminating 600 jobs in Iowa, Illinois, and beyond. By 2025, another 287 positions were cut, reflecting a deeper struggle beneath the surface. Deere's earnings are collapsing. Sales dropped 18% in the second quarter, with sharper declines projected ahead. High interest rates, falling crop prices, and increasingly cautious farmers have left warehouses full of unsold equipment, forcing production slowdowns and strategic shifts to BY 2026. Deere plans to move small loader production to Mexico, a decision that has become a flashpoint in national politics. President Trump has promised punishing tariffs of up to 200% to keep Deere's iconic machines made in America. Yet, beyond the heated rhetoric, the company faces a global test that stretches far beyond political slogans. Deere's challenge is not just about location, it's about survival in an increasingly unstable trade environment. The financial squeeze is worsened by international tariffs. In the past quarter alone, Deere absorbed losses worth hundreds of millions due to trade barriers, with projections of a $500 million hit by 2026. The company's construction and forestry divisions, heavily dependent on global markets, have suffered the most. To cushion the impact, Deere is seeking tariff relief under the U.S. Mexico-Canada agreement while simultaneously restructuring its production footprint to balance domestic expectations with international realities. These changes have direct consequences for farmers. While most of next year's orders are already booked, equipment prices are expected to rise 2 to 4% by 2026, adding further strain to producers already struggling with shrinking margins. Behind the scenes, Deere's legal and engineering teams are racing to renegotiate contracts, reduce costs, and salvage profitability in an unpredictable global market. But when trade policies can shift overnight, long-term stability remains elusive. The effects of Deere's downsizing extend beyond corporate reports and stockholder meetings. Across the Midwest, the fallout is deeply personal. Since 2020, more than 1,800 Iowans have lost jobs tied to Deere, and in 2025 alone, hundreds more will let go, 119 from Ankeny and 75 from Ottumwa. Families and entire neighborhoods have been shaken by the sudden loss of steady employment. For decades, these towns thrived on the hum of Deere's factories, where generations built not just machines, but stable lives. Now, shuttered storefronts and declining optimism mark the landscape of once prosperous communities to in response. Iowa lawmakers are pushing legislation requiring corporations that downsize after receiving state tax incentives to return some of those credits. Deere insists that its decisions are driven by market pressures, not disregard for workers or communities. But for those facing unemployment, unpaid mortgages, and uncertain futures, those explanations ring hollow. What's at stake is more than economics. It's identity, pride, and a deep bond between a company and the people who grew with it. Beyond the factory towns, the shockwaves reach into America's fields. Farmers face their own crossroads as economic realities close in. High interest rates have made it far more expensive to finance tractors and combines, while weak crop prices have eaten into farm income. Trade wars and retaliatory tariffs have narrowed export markets, leaving farmers caught in a tightening vice. Many are delaying equipment upgrades, relying instead on older machinery. Local dealerships are feeling the squeeze as sales of new tractors decline, and demand for used equipment surges. Meanwhile, part shortages and long repair waits add to the frustration, trapping farmers and dealers alike in cycles of delay and uncertainty. Beneath these surface struggles lies a quieter, more enduring cost. Farmers' hesitation to invest in new machinery ripples through rural economies, hurting dealerships, suppliers, and local service businesses. That same hesitation, in turn, deepens Deere's own financial troubles, creating a feedback loop that tightens the pressure on both sides. For Deere, supporting the farmers who make up its core customer base has become more crucial than ever. If it fails to do so, it risks losing not only revenue but also trust, the currency on which its legacy was built. Yet even amid these headwinds, Deere is not retreating. The company has announced one of the largest commitments in its history, a $20 billion investment into U.S. operations over the next decade. The plan includes modernizing aging factories, building new facilities, and preparing the workforce for a changing industrial landscape. In Missouri, Deere is expanding its remanufacturing plant. In Waterloo, Iowa, new production lines are being added. And in Kernersville, North Carolina, a new excavator plant is taking shape. These projects are intended to reaffirm the company's long-term commitment to American manufacturing and reassure farmers that its roots remain planted in U.S. soil still. Money alone cannot solve the challenges Deere faces. Global competition, volatile markets, shifting trade policies, and the evolving demands of modern agriculture all threaten to reshape the future of the industry. Deere's bet is that innovation, modernization, and strategic investment can preserve its legacy while preparing it for a radically different era. Whether that gamble pays off remains uncertain. For now, the story of John Deere stands as a microcosm of the broader struggle facing American manufacturing, a clash between tradition and transformation, between loyalty to home and the hard logic of global economics. It is a test not only of one company's resilience but also of how far America is willing to go to keep its industrial heart beating. The outcome for John Deere will depend on whether the company can rebuild trust, prove its commitment, and deliver on the innovation that has long defined its legacy. Despite billions earmarked for growth, another challenge quietly threatens Deere's momentum: its strained supply chain. The company has faced mounting difficulties in securing essential parts and materials, as semiconductor shortages and rising steel costs add months to production timelines. For farmers, such delays can mean the difference between a successful harvest and financial distress. Deere has responded by seeking tariff exemptions under trade agreements and participating in federal programs aimed at improving freight efficiency and cargo visibility. It is also reassessing its global manufacturing footprint to strengthen resilience against unpredictable disruptions. Still, uncertainty lingers for farmers who depend on timely deliveries. Confidence in Deere now rests on whether it can stabilize its supply chain and keep machinery rolling when it matters most. John Deere stands at a defining crossroads in its history. On one side are painful cutbacks, layoffs, and production shifts driven by economic headwinds. On the other is a sweeping investment plan that signals renewed commitment to American agriculture and the communities that sustain it. For workers and farmers, this moment represents both a trial and a chance for renewal. The question is whether Deere can adapt to global trade pressures, domestic political tensions, and logistical disruptions while still honoring its promise to American farmers. Rebuilding trust among communities that once viewed its factories as cornerstones of stability may be the company's greatest challenge yet. Deere's recent decision to lower its profit outlook and warn of rising tariff-related costs underscores more than a quarterly setback. It reveals a strain gripping the entire agricultural machinery industry. Tractor production lines are slowing, truck assembly plants are scaling back, and what was once a thriving market for new equipment has been overshadowed by hesitation. Farmers who regularly upgraded their machinery are now holding on to older models, opting for repairs over replacements. This approach is sensible amid weak crop prices and high financing costs, but introduces its own problems. Older fleets demand more maintenance, repairs grow increasingly expensive, and dependence on global supply chains deepens just as those networks are stretched thin. Every decision on a farm carries enormous weight. A single breakdown during harvest season can devastate an entire year's work. Tariffs only intensify this risk. When import duties inflate the cost of essential components or electronics, even a simple repair becomes a major expense. A part that once cost a few $100s may now cost double, and if it cannot be sourced quickly, a temporary issue can turn into a financial disaster. In farming communities, idle equipment is not just an inconvenience. It means lower yields, tighter profit margins, and disruptions that echo across the economy. From local dealerships to grocery store shelves, trade policies often debated in far-off capitals have tangible consequences in rural America. On paper, tariffs seem simple. Raise duties on imports and companies pay more at the border. In practice, the outcome is far more complicated. Producers attempt to pass costs on to consumers through higher prices, but when demand is already weak, those increases can drive customers away. Many firms end up absorbing the added costs, eroding their margins and forcing difficult choices about production and employment. John Deere. The effects vary by division. Construction equipment can sometimes absorb price increases, buoyed by urban development and infrastructure projects. But agricultural machinery is deeply tied to the fluctuating rhythms of farming. When commodity prices fall, farmers delay purchases, demand drops, and production slows. Reduced capacity means shorter shifts at factories, fewer work hours, and ultimately, job losses. The ripple effects extend throughout local economies, shrinking tax revenues, straining schools, and hurting small businesses that depend on the stability of factory paychecks. For farmers, the financial equation is unforgiving. The cost of equipment rests on three pillars: the purchase price, the financing cost spread over years, and the long-term expense of maintenance. Tariffs pressure two of these at once. Higher raw material costs push up sticker prices on new machinery, while inflated import costs make repairs more expensive. The third pillar, financing, is governed by interest rates, and with inflation still a concern, borrowing costs are unlikely to fall soon. If tariffs continue driving up prices, the Federal Reserve will be even less inclined to cut rates, keeping farmers trapped in a prolonged financial squeeze. John Deere's future, like that of American agriculture itself, hinges on how it navigates this complex web of economic forces. To endure, the company must do more than modernize factories or invest in new technology. It must rebuild confidence among the workers and farmers who have long trusted its name.